Welcome to Manly Monday Live. It's another Monday night here at the Fallible Nation. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm so excited to be here, and I am just a little bit lower in the register tonight because my voice is still tired from an all-weekend event. So bear with me if I sound a little more bass today. That's not actually microphone effect. That is just wow, my voice is kind of shot. So we're going to wing it through and see how that goes, right? Guys, do you ever think about legacy? I mean, what will you leave behind? What will you be remembered for? Don't worry, most people do. So it's okay. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, or it's like not odd or anything. But what if I told you you were barking up the wrong tree? That train left the station and we got on it, but it was the wrong train. I mean, it's just not necessarily where we were planning to go. We just didn't know any better. Well, on tonight's show, we're going to talk about the difference between leaving a legacy and passing on something that transcends generations far beyond the misconstrued idea of legacy. More importantly, we're going to discuss how we can get started right now, today, with this change in perspective and leave an impact far bigger than you ever thought was possible. Great news. Anybody, and I mean anybody, can use this information, and it does not require a specific set of skills over and above what you already possess. I'm not tacking on more to your personal development journey, guys. You already have the tools. You're just not necessarily seeing it. Legacy is associated with a generational pass down, usually kind of a familial one, if you look at it that way. Impacting generations, that can be done by anyone willing to invest their time in the next generation. And you can make a huge impact on this world for generations to come. Now, with that said, let's not wait anymore and let's get into it. Now, guys, if you're joining in the show, we are super excited to be here tonight. I love Manly Monday. As you know, guys, I just love hanging out with you and spending time, and I love the conversation. So jump into the chat if you're able to and join us in tonight's conversation. Become part of the show. It's a much more fun show and a much better show when you contribute to it, guys, because let's face it, it's more fun to talk amongst together than just to listen to me. That's just the way life is. And that's cool. I'm good with that. But guys, jump into the chat. Let us know you're here. Shout us out. And if you're just seeing little letter icon, if you're on them from Facebook, then you might just be seeing your little letter icon like this, like Sarah's got here. If you want to actually see your little icon and full name, and you're not seeing that and you're from Facebook, you can go to streamyards.com/Facebook, and you just tell Facebook that that's okay that they share that information with us. And it doesn't hurt anything. It just lets us see your little icon. But guess what? We love you whether we can see that icon or not. So we're glad you're here. It doesn't really matter. If you have questions during the show, guys, we do a Q&A at the end of every show. Be sure and put a QQ in front of the question. That helps my lovely bride and engineer, Sarah, to make things better and make sure I see those and don't miss them because she highlights them for me. So that helps me because I'm looking at multiple platforms. Shirley's jumping on. Good evening, Shirley, wherever is evening, right? My days and nights are upside down, guys. I've been at a youth event since Thursday. And so honestly, I'm not sure which side is up. I fell asleep on my couch this morning after I got back from an appointment. And it's like, oh, didn't know I was taking a nap today. So if I get the good morning, good afternoon wrong, that's why. Also, if you want to jump on there in the Q&A live on air to ask your question during that portion of the show, then there is a link in the description wherever you're watching this video, and you can jump in, and that will take you to a Google form that then emails me, so that way I can privately send you an email without broadcasting it to the whole world. Now, so much mouthfuls of nonsense I have to shout out before I get into the show. I'm sorry about that. I really am. But like I said, guys, jump in. Let's make the show a lot of fun. Legacy, as it's defined by the dictionary, has a couple different terms, right? Legacy can be a shoe-in, like in the college sense, can be someone whose parents were in a sorority before them or a fraternity before them. Legacy as we define it a lot of times, as we understand our definition that most people work within is something transmitted by or received from an ancestor or predecessor or from the past. Now, that's a lot of mumbo jumbo. As we commonly understand it, it's about passing on to future generations. What will I be known for or remembered for? What am I leaving, like, my children and their children, right? We even think about that familial relationship and carrying on family. My wife was actually concerned about us having a son, actually more so than I was, because she was aware that my family name is very important to me. And I am the last in my line who could pass on that family name. And so we had to have the conversation because I was like, no, you know what? I have two beautiful, healthy daughters, and that's enough. I don't have to keep trying for a son because I don't look at legacy the same way everybody does. Yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, but you know, we think about leaving our mark, and I don't need a son for that. So we think about it in those terms a lot of times. We think about it very familial, but that's kind of how we wrap our head around legacy. And legacy isn't really, unless you're trying to get a statue made about yourself, then that kind of legacy is probably barking up the wrong tree. It doesn't have the value that we think it does. Like today is Columbus Day, right? Maybe you didn't check your calendar and don't know, but today is actually Columbus Day. Well, some people love him, some people hate him. Most don't actually give a crap. Statues get torn down depending on where they are in history and who's in power at the time. So let's talk about generational impact, because that's what you came here for, and this is what we really want to focus on. But we have to separate it from legacy because it's not the same thing. Legacy is the sense of how we'll be known in future generations and what we're leaving to, carry on that tradition or that family name. But that's not generational impact. So I was just at an event this weekend that's been going on for 48 years now. We've had 46 events in 48 years. The dreaded Rona took us down one year, and the air quality in the area, there were so many forest fires that we just could not bring people in. So that took us out for 1 year, but we've only missed 2 years in 48 years. Now, the founder passed a couple years ago. Many of his descendants and kin are actually still involved with this event, which is very cool. However, the directors aren't actually technically kin or even officially. And whomever takes our places, they won't be either necessarily. Most of the young people who come to this event, and we had around 180 people at this event, have no idea who Pee Wee was, or that that's the name of the man who actually started this. And yes, his name was Pee Wee. It has transcended a legacy or a lineage. The work and the impact continues and affects hundreds of people every year. I had a conversation with one of the students who said next year was her last year as a student at this event because it's a youth event. But then she asked if she'd be able to come back and volunteer in the years following that and help because she loves what's happening and believes in it. We actually get that reaction a lot with this event. In fact, a lot of our volunteers are what you would call legacy. There was that word again, right? Former students who have come back and are now putting into the event. That's my case too. My parents were involved with this as volunteers. And my siblings and I all grew up attending this event. I have been one of the directors for several years now. My nieces attended this and are now adults and are now volunteering at this event. My daughter told me very matter-of-factly that this was her last year just trailing around, following me around and my wife. But next year she gets to be a student because she will be old enough. Like me, she grew up at her parents' side as they were volunteering. So she's been coming to this event as a child, following us around or sitting with a grandparent or whatever for years while my wife and I have been volunteering at this. Just like I did. So one day, just as the original families pass it on and continue, we will pass it on. Now, those original families are still involved. Like I said, a lot of them is very cool, and they continue to help and volunteer, but it was passed on. My fellow directors and I will do the same. We'll find people who love it like we do and are passionate about the work, who were probably students at some point, and they'll carry it forward for more generations. Now, every person who attends is impacted. then they may come back, they may become volunteers, or they may not, but they're impacted. And in turn, people around them are impacted. I don't care if anybody remembers that I was involved with this program for decades, because I've been doing this now for 17 and a half years. But 20 years from now, I don't care if anybody actually knows that. I don't care if anybody knows my name. I do care that my fellow directors and I did the necessary work to hand this off to future generations just as it was handed to us, so that in 20 years it's still impacting lives, whether we're involved or not. It has transcended legacy and has become a generationally impacting event. Year after year, decade after decade, getting close to 5 decades, it is impacting another generation, people who have no idea where it started. And that is generationally impacting, right? Cool story, long story. We're getting there, I promise. One day, I hope that somebody else will be the face of the fallible man, that will still be impacting men's lives in some way, even when I'm not the face of it. I don't want the fallible man to be my legacy. I want it to be impacting generations of men to come for years and years and years, which means I must train and mold a successor with the same passion and vision of serving other men. It doesn't matter if it's a family member or somebody from the fallible nation who just is that deeply passionate about it that takes over, as long as the fallible man is still serving men, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, because it becomes generationally impacting whether I'm involved or not, because we're all fallible men. So how do you impact generationally, right? Sorry, that was a long wind up, guys. Hey, what do you think of the shirt? Yeah, I know it gets a little blurry when I step away. I had this done, dude. I love like sports jerseys, so having my own sports jersey makes me feel really cool, even if I'm not. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Guys, how do you impact people in a generational way? Number one, it doesn't have to be a massive mission. For example, you don't have to be on a crusade like the fallible man. Okay, I have my thing. I have this program I was at this last weekend, and it's, like I said, we're going on 48 years now, or well, next year will be 49. It doesn't have to be this massive thing like this. Okay, you have skills, knowledge, and abilities that transcends generations. For example, during the event, I ran into a man and I visited with him, the man who taught me how to shoot a bow when I was 10 or 11 years old. Okay. Maybe you didn't know that about me. I enjoy archery. I enjoy bows. I love shooting my bow. I bought myself a bow last year. My wife bought me a bow last year. And I love to shoot bow. And I have since I was 10 years old. And Joe happened to be there with a group of kids that he helped bring. And this man taught me how to shoot a bow when I was 10 years old. Man invested some time and effort into teaching me a skill alongside his youngest son. Now, you may be going, well, wait, yeah, he taught you how to shoot a bow. Guess what? That's generationally impacting, because that continues. You see, that skill is something that goes with me, and it can go with me, and it can go with me to another generation. And that depends on point number 2, which is it has to be teachable. For it to be generationally impacting, it has to be a teachable talent or skill. Yes, they are separate things, talents and skills, but they're all teachable. Joe spent the time to teach me, right? For generations, sons worked beside their fathers to learn their trades and be guided into their future. The value of this didn't change. Society changed what they thought was valuable. In fact, this kind of mentorship is still what produces some of the most successful people in the world. Yet it's less common than schooling or other methods of training. Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs and other shows talks about the declining number in the trades that we call the trades, right? Like construction trades, electrical, pipe fitters. Sorry, I am tired. My brain is fluttering away. But the trades, right? What do you think of? Plumbers, pipe fitters, electricians, framers, painters, all these trade skills that we're taught from generation to generation. And in the trades, they're still taught in an apprenticeship style. This was the heart and soul of education for generations. Instantly, some of those trades are still highly more profitable compared to a lot of things you can get by going to college. But we decided that at some point, this was not the value that it once was. Instead of just sons and daughters working alongside their parents to learn their future, we started going a different direction. But to be generationally impacting, you have to be able to teach that skill. It has to be teachable and trainable. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a massive mission. It does have to be teachable and trainable. Now, question for you guys. What is your skill or talent that you can pass on to others so then they can pass on to other people that benefits their life? You may not think him teaching me how to shoot a bow benefits my life, but it will. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now, I see that Katie's on. Hey, Katie, thanks for jumping on tonight. It's great to see you. My wife thinks I bought myself a nice jersey. Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. You are quiet tonight. Don't know why. Stop being quiet. Hey, jump in the conversation, guys. Let us know you're here. And if you're just now joining us on tonight's show, we're talking about impacting generations in 2022, making a real difference. Because to make a real difference, it has to transcend you. It has to transcend your life. It has to be something that can be passed on and passed on and passed on for it to actually transcend legacy and become something that can impact generations for years. Very few people actually know much about Columbus. In fact, he's actually slipped more and more into obscurity as we've taken this weird swing, and now people are hating on Columbus for ruining the indigenous people. I don't understand that, because that's just the history of the world. One culture took over another culture. That's the history of the entirety of the world. So I'm not unsure why everybody's mad about that, but all of a sudden Columbus is a bad guy. And just like a lot of people, they tore down some of his statues. But right, we're in this time where legacy, okay, Columbus sailed the ocean, yay. You know what Columbus's real legacy is? Columbus's real legacy is he is one of the best salesmen in history. Okay, he convinced Spain to finance 3 different voyages, none of which he actually completed the agreement and discovered what he was supposed to discover or achieved his goals. He is the best salesman in history. Just saying. That's his real legacy. Now, apparently that was his trade. I don't know. But Columbus, that was probably his best point, was he was an incredible salesman, apparently. But, right, that stuff slips into obscurity. We don't think about Columbus. In fact, I've heard people who want to get rid of Columbus Day because he was a bad person who whatever. He accidentally found America. Yay, Columbus. You managed to swindle the king and queen of Spain for 3 trips worth. Good job. You're a salesman. You should have sold used cars or used ships. Maybe that's what he did in his older age. I don't know. But, right, we don't hang on to that legacy. We're like, oh yeah, that Columbus, that's the discover the ocean blue guy, right? Or sail the ocean blue guy. Legacy goes, guys. Legacy doesn't last forever. I was appalled to find out that on a recent trip that my brother and sister-in-law were on with some Girl Scouts, they freaked out when they found out that George Washington owned slaves, because, oh no, he was a good guy. He was anti-slavery. Okay, we like to forget history. We like to forget legacy. We like to forget what really happened on things. And because it all goes away, it just gets painted over. Generationally impacting things don't. Joe teaching me how to shoot a bow is with me for the rest of my life, and with anybody else I pass that on to. teaching a young person to hunt, teaching a young person a skill, teaching a young person how to critically think, taking and building a product that goes year after year, like this convention we just did this weekend. Those are generationally impacting because they impact the lives there and the lives touched by the lives that were there. That is generationally impacting for decades at a time. It's insane. And you can do this. You have the skills to do it. Katie says teaching and how to teach is something that she can share. She was answering our question. I see Andrew Coyle. It's happening because people are trying to enforce the idea of absolute ethics, where it doesn't matter at what point in history you look at something, you can judge them from your current viewpoint. That is true, and that is horrible, but that is true. This is, of course, a problem because it does not take any consideration into what life was like at a specific time and what the values and morals of the time were. Absolutely true, sir. And hey, welcome to the show. Good to see you tonight, man. Guys, so it has to be a teachable skill. It doesn't have to be some big, massive thing like I put on this weekend, or even like the Fallible Man. You have these skills, this knowledge and abilities that can transcend generations and impact. Parents do it every single day. Teachers do it every single day. Number 3, it's got to be its value has to have the ability to outlive you. Now, this is where I explain. See, Joe, who taught me how to shoot a bow, is a grandfather. He may be even a great grandfather. I know he has sons who are old enough that have children who are close to old enough. So he's not a great grandfather. He's pretty close. I don't know for sure that he is yet, though, but he's not far off. Now, I was taught how to shoot a bow by this man with his youngest son around the age of 10 or 11. I don't remember precisely. I've taught others to shoot a bow, including my brother-in-law, my pastor. My daughters are chomping at the bit. I know Abby's watching this right now, and I know Abby wants to learn to shoot a bow, and I'm pretty sure Henley does too. And guess what? That's something I'm going to pass on to them. His sons have taught their children, and their children will have that skill to pass on to their children and great-grandchildren. See, when Joe leaves this earth, along with the legacy he's left as a father, the skills he taught his sons and their friends will continue to teach future generations who will never meet the man who actually taught them how to do it. They will never meet the man who actually made that possible. But long after Joe has left this world, the fact that he invested in some young men from his children and their friends and taught them a viable skill, because I can go bow hunting, I can go bow fishing, I can go just blow off some stress. It's a survival tool. It's a relaxation tool. It has applications. And now I'm continuing to pass that on to people who will never know that man. His sons will do the same thing. His grandchildren will have the ability to do the same thing. That is generationally impacting. That's why I said it doesn't have to be something that is massive, that we see as big. That's the thing. A lot of times as humans, we tend to think we have to do something like go big or go home. Go big or go home. It's just a really stupid commercial for selling things. And I like to say it too, because I like, yeah, go big. Who doesn't get excited about that idea? Go big, go home. Yeah. But it doesn't have to be that. Generationally impacting skills, we'll see how many times I can mess up that phrase, are skills that are able to be passed on and outlive you and affect people's lives in a positive way. These are generationally impacting things. Shirley says, I'm humbled. Some of my kids love the Lord as I do. I thought Sarah was clicking on things. Sorry, honey. I was trying not to click on things at the same time you do. And I'm thrilled they're passing on that love of Jesus to my grandkids. Faith is absolutely a generationally impacting thing. It is actually probably one of the best examples of generationally impacting. I won't call that a talent or a skill. That wouldn't be the right word. Beliefs. Okay. It is actually probably one of the greatest examples of generationally impacting beliefs, because entire generations, for generation after generation, are impacted by the choice of their parents or their grandparents or their great grandparents, depending on which generation it started in, and tend to stay that way for who knows how long. Some families until that family line ends. But it is an example of a generationally impacting belief system that shapes the way people live their lives, the way people act, the way people treat other human beings. And so, like I said, it doesn't have to be a giant mission. It doesn't have to be a business. It doesn't have to be a conference. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to write a book that changes the face of the earth. You have beliefs, you have skills, you have talents that will far live beyond you to improve other people's lives. That is generationally impacting. Stop thinking about legacy. Okay, legacy is overhyped, because legacy can be good or bad, but it doesn't necessarily impact anybody past the memory of the person. Generally, generationally impacting skills, events, talents, beliefs, that's where it's at, guys. Now, guys, as we're rolling on, I'm excited to announce to you, before we hit point number 4, that we just locked in our 4th speaker for the Phoenix Conference. So if you're new to the show, we have a live and virtual conference that we do every year. And February 10th and 11th, we have the Phoenix Conference. And we just added, now I'm going to go blank, David Pascalon. David Pascalon is the guy in the glasses up here. We now have Manuel, Oliver, Marcel, Jim Fuller, and David Pascalon. Sorry, guys, I am so tired. I almost considered canceling the show. But we now have 4 of our 6 to 7 speakers that we will have at this event. I actually have a meeting with the venue later this week to lock in the final details there. But come February 10th and 11th, I'm hinting and trying to push around maybe into going into the 12th. The Phoenix Conference, man on a mission. You have a purpose. Absolutely. We're born for a purpose in this life. You have smaller purposes, and then you have your telos. We want to help you as you search for that. Yours and mine are not necessarily the same thing, but every person and every man, because I focus on men, have a purpose. And your life is fuller and richer when you're actually actively seeking that purpose. And so we want to invite you to come along with us and let us come alongside you and help arm you with the tools you need to seek out that purpose if you still haven't figured it out, or even if you still haven't fully flushed it out. Some people know, they just don't know exactly how to put that together and get that in alignment so they can move forward towards it. The Phoenix Conference, guys, I was with a group of men this morning. They're still talking about the last conference back in June. It was an incredible experience. And guys, that was my first time out of the gate. I can't wait for this one. We're going to have a strongman competition just to add some fun to it. I've got a championship belt, WWE style, on the way right now that is up for grabs with the strongman competition that is entirely optional. We're just going to have some fun. We're going to laugh at each other, and we're going to bond as men. We've got great speakers lined up. I got 4 of the 6 or 7 nailed down, guys, and I'm so excited that David's going to be joining us. David Pascalon is an amazing guy. He is a businessman, a consultant, a coach, and the host of the Remarkable People podcast, which, guys, if you are inspired by other people's stories, check out David's podcast, the Remarkable People podcast by David Pascalon. It's a mouthful, and you have to type in the whole thing to find it. If you just type in the Remarkable People podcast without his name, it doesn't come up right. But guys, if you are inspired by other people's stories, David's story is incredible. And you can go to my podcast to find his story. David's story is incredible. But if you are inspired by other people's stories of overcoming incredible odds and difficulties, go check out the Remarkable People podcast as well. And if you like what you're hearing with him, then come check out the Phoenix in February, guys. It's going to be awesome. Sorry. I'm highly winded already. I'm talking too much, apparently. Sorry, guys. It's one of those nights. Like I said, I'm too tired for my own good. I'm not drinking enough coffee, obviously. Number 4, guys, I want to share with you, and I only have one more point after this, I promise. So we'll speed it along. A generationally impacting belief, talent, gift can't be owned. It can only be shared and stewarded. Joe is not the only man who could have taught me to shoot a bow. Okay. He may not have been the most talented man who could have taught me to shoot a bow, but other people could have taught me. In fact, my friend Greg got me back into it after I hadn't shot archery for a lot of years. He made me better at archery because Greg was just a better archer. His sons are both highly skilled at it and are teaching other people. I could have learned somewhere else. I could have gone to like a range and taken a class or something. But Joe was stewarding his gift and sharing his gifts and his talents and his passions with not only his sons, but with his son's friends as they came into his life, because he looked and saw young people that he could encourage, that he could build up, that he could instruct, that he could help them as they made their journey through life. And so Joe took his gifts and, as a good steward, shared them to benefit other people. And that's the way generationally impacting things work. The conference that I just got out of this weekend, the youth event, whatever you want to call it, it's a youth rally. I'm stewarding it. Somebody else started this. I knew the man who started this. I benefited from this event in my own life. My wife benefited from this event. We both attended as children. My siblings, my nieces, my daughters have benefited. Okay. Hundreds of kids benefit from this event every year, but it's not mine. I'm only a steward of this event, and my job is to make sure young people continue to grow and benefit from this experience. That's how generationally impacting things work. You steward it's not about me. It's not about my skills. It's not about who I am. Like I said, 20 years from now, I don't care if anybody knows that I've spent 18 years of my life dedicated to this event. Every year, 18 years of my life have been dedicated to this event. Guess what? I don't care. I don't care if they know. I don't care if they ever know my name was associated with it 20 years from now, as long as I have done my part to make sure it's still there and helping impact the next generation and the next generation, because I stewarded it well and passed it on to the right people to continue forward to touch other people's lives. You steward the talents you have by sharing them with others and using them to grow and benefit others. Generationally impacting skills, talents, beliefs are not about us. They're about making other people better. They're about making the world better. They're far past us. Number 5, guys, they transcend. That's not what I said. I hit this wrong screen. Sorry. Things that impact generationally take time. Wow, I am tired. I should just shut up now. Things that impact generationally take time. Okay, developing things takes time before they can be passed on. Developing things where they can serve others takes time. I'm saying a lot, I know, but I want you to hear it. Joe developed his skills, right? That means he had to learn to shoot archery, whether that was passed on to him or whether it's a hobby he took up and taught himself or had someone teach him, right? He had to develop his skills. And as a beginner, he would not have been a good teacher to teach me how to do it, right? He developed those skills. Then he developed the skills to continue forward, get better, and he developed the skill to teach them. Now, any of my teachers, you better say amen, because it is a skill to teach other people that takes a lot of love, a lot of dedication, and a lot of patience, because it is not easy to do. Joe nurtured his skills, then he developed the ability to pass them on. Pee-wee developed the program I was just at. He grew it because it's a long ways from where it started. Guys, I know the whole story deeply, and I'm not going to take up the show with that, but I know the whole story of this event. What it is now does not look anything like when it started. There's some remnants of where it started at. He grew it. He developed it, he nurtured it, he refined it, he expanded it, and then he passed it on to his son, who took the torch. Eventually, his son passed it on to my friend Dave. Dave then invited me to help steward this program with him as it grows and changes, because the program has outgrown just one person overseeing it. One day, we'll pass it on too. 48 years of love and work that must be passed on to somebody else beyond us so it can continue to live and serve past us to serve future generations. That is very generational, right? That's generationally impacting. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I want to see that it is still impacting hundreds, if not thousands of lives a year. That is generationally impacting. That requires that we move ourselves in a position of humility and pass that to the people who can continue it on. Because one day I won't be able to do 2 and 3 hours of sleep a night for 4 or 5 days straight during this event, because that's what life is like during this event. So that is generationally impacting. Stop worrying about legacy. You want to leave a great legacy? Worry about generationally impacting things. Because generationally impacting things are about helping everybody else. It's about growing other people. It's about making other people's lives better with the talents and skills and beliefs and knowledge that you have. It's about building better future for other people. And I promise, if that is your focus as a man, if your focus is on serving, on making the world better, on making people's lives better, I promise you'll never have to worry about legacy. It will take care of itself. If that is your life, if that is your focus, your legacy is secure. You also won't worry about it, because if you know you're making a difference in people's lives, you're not going to worry about your legacy. You know what you did, and you're good. It's that simple, guys. I apologize if I rambled tonight and I'm not as coherent or cohesive in my thoughts as usual. I am exhausted. So thank you for bearing with me. It's been a long weekend. I'm so glad to be home. We had a great event, but I am wiped out hard. I stumbled through the door last night and I don't even remember making it to my bed. But my wife says I got there and I woke up there this morning, so I'm happy. But that's about as far as I got. I just kind of fell down once I got there, apparently. So thank you for putting up with my ranting tonight and for being involved. I'm not seeing any questions in the comment section. You guys are really quiet. Do me a favor, like and share this video. If there was anything beneficial, be sure and tell people, yeah, he ran it a little bit, he's tired. But if this helped you guys out, share it with somebody. But do more than that. Take it home with you. Unpack this in your head a little bit. Spend a couple minutes thinking about what we're saying here. I told you I don't have all the answers, guys, but I feel pretty strongly about this one. The Fallible Man, I pray it will be going 30 years from now, making a difference in people's lives. That is my goal with this. And it won't be my face. It won't be this pretty mug. Somebody else will have to look at somebody else, because I'm going to have to do my part to make sure that somebody else can take over the helm at some point. But guys, that is my goal, is for this to serve men long past my ability to do it. Focus on generationally impacting things. Teach young people in your lives, teach other people in your lives skills that will improve their lives and allow them to improve other people's lives. Legacy will take care of itself if you serve other people. You will feel amazing. You will feel completed and whole in serving other people this way. And guys, you will change the world, I promise. As always, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for being here tonight. Be better tomorrow because of what you do today, and we'll see you on the next one.